Hey, most coffee companies tell you their beans are premium. Mine actually are. This is Red Iron Coffee. It's high quality, single origin Colombian beans, roasted by guys who have pulled enough overnight shifts to know what coffee's supposed to do. So, if you are like me and you love your caffeine, go on down to Red Iron Coffee, pick yourself up some today. That's redironcoffee.com. Just like I said, that's redironcoffee.com.
I started this in 1996, so
Loving it?
Lord's blessed it and pays the bills.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But this is actually for you.
Well,
so
thank you.
I'm not sure if you're a big coffee drinker or not, but
Andrew, Avery.
He's a big coffee drinker.
Just, when you're on a statewide campaign, there's no way to do it
Without the coffee.
Without good load. So
Yeah.
I will try this tomorrow.
Perfect.
Is it, medium roast.
Medium roast.
I was out to ask you if it was a dark roast or a medium roast, which is my cup of tea.
Oh yeah.
So thank you very much.
Colombian sourced beans. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Absolutely.
Right.
So I'd like to start out with a quick introduction, if that's all right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Mike Mazzei is joining me today. He is a business leader and public servant running for governor of Oklahoma. He's the chairman and CEO of Trinity Strategic Wealth, where he guides families and businesses towards financial security. Mike served for over a decade as a state senator and Oklahoma Secretary of Budget. Now, as he runs for governor, he's recently earned a major endorsement from President Donald Trump. But beyond politics, Mike is a devoted husband to his wife Noelle, and together they have 5 children. He's also a faithful Christian and active member of the church, rooted in his values, service, and integrity. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
Man, that made me sound almost kind of like a good guy.
Yes, sir.
So just glad I get to spend some time with you today and talk Oklahoma policy and politics.
Yes, sir. And I can't wait to get into it. But before that, I'd like to ask you, where'd you grow up?
I'm a military brat. So my father's a Vietnam veteran. He was in the Air Force for 20 years. Mm-hmm. We traveled all over the country. But in 1983, I came here to attend Oral Roberts University, and I became an Okie, particularly when I eventually met the 1989 ORU homecoming queen. And I finagled a date, and we've been married for 35 years and have 5 kids and built a business here in Oklahoma that the Lord's blessed us with.
Awesome. What was your studies at ORU?
Well, I was 2 years at ORU, mm-hmm. and I decided to go into government and politics as my first degree. I was blessed with an opportunity to work in the United States Senate as a full-time intern on a pro-life task force during the Reagan era. So that's kind of when the political interest and public policy interest started. So I actually finished my college degree at George Mason University. And that was just a great experience because, at ORU I learned about the Holy Spirit empowering us to follow Jesus and bless others. And at George Mason University, I learned, the depths of our constitutional freedoms and liberties, and that eventually set me on a path to be both in the business world and in the political world.
Awesome. So having 5 children at such all within a very close age, what was that like?
Well, Noelle and I, she's a farm girl. I'm a military brat. We wanted a big family, but she had some significant health challenges to contend with. So we adopted a daughter from Russia. We did some fertility stuff that worked out a little better than expected and had triplets.
Yeah, sounds like it worked out really well.
Yeah, and then a couple years later, we had bonus brothers, so 5 kids under the age of 5. Which eventually meant 5 college expenses at the age, or at the same time. But today we're super blessed because all of them love Jesus and all of them have jobs.
Absolutely, that's awesome. So Getting into some politics here, we've been listening a lot about the elimination of property taxes for seniors and veterans. Can you kind of walk us through the process of how that works and what that looks like, and what process you'll use to get that implemented?
Well, I am a certified financial planner, and for 35 years I've built financial plans for others, which you have to crunch a lot of numbers. And as I looked at the property tax situation for seniors all across the state of Oklahoma, I kept hearing these one-on-one, concerns of losing the home because of ever escalating property taxes that for these seniors in Oklahoma have gone up 30, 40, 50% over a 10-year period, even while homeowners insurance has gone up 30, 40, 50%. And for seniors and retirees, their income's pretty level on a fixed income basis. So I really dove into crunching the numbers, and I found that in most of Oklahoma counties, property tax collections for seniors 65 and older only accounts for 10% of the total amount of collections. And then I also found that most Oklahoma counties have had a stellar run of property tax collections growing 5, 6, 7, some even 8% per year. Well, thus my plan to phase out property taxes for seniors 65 and older and veterans, because if in 1 year property tax collections go up 7%, but by phasing out seniors in year 1, 5% go away, you're still left with a net gain in property tax collections of 2% for 2 years.
Right.
So that's our plan. We recognize that for some of the rural counties, it may take a little longer than 2 to 3 years, but we believe after 4 decades of our retirees contributing to the local community, it's just high time they not have to pay rent to the government and also absorb what's basically become a 3% tax increase every year.
Right. And now would this apply to their main residence, like their, say, homestead, or would this apply to, if they own multiple homes, would this apply to all the homes that they own, or just their single family, their residential dwelling home, their main home?
This is going to be a change to what's called the homestead exemption.
Okay.
So it applies to a retiree's principal residence.
Okay. Perfect. And now going into the state income tax and the process that you've talked extensively about, I believe it's a 3-step process of eliminating the...
Man, you're good. You're paying attention.
I'm doing my best.
Okay.
Can you kind of walk us through that process of eliminating the state income tax and what avenues of revenue we'll be looking towards to fill the gap of that income tax, where that money comes from, what we'll do to replace it?
Great question. I was the Senate Finance Chairman for 10 years. I was Oklahoma's Secretary of Finance for 2 years. So I've been looking and researching and figuring out a plan for a long time. And it's just become more and more important because recently we've lost 2 more huge energy company headquarters going to Texas. And over in the state of Tennessee, I discovered that they have 58% more economic growth than Oklahoma over a decade, and they don't have oil or natural gas. But of course, their commonality is they're both no income tax states. And we just really in Oklahoma have to get on board or get left behind. So step 1 of our 3-part plan in year one of a Mazzei administration is to lower the state income tax rate from 4.5% to 3% by literally just cleaning out a ton of unnecessary tax giveaways, deductions, and exemptions.
What are some of those tax giveaways and exemptions?
Tennessee model doesn't have.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm the guy, for example, that in 2015 killed the $1.5 billion giveaway to the wind power companies. So in our tax code, we have some special interest credits that maybe 50 people get to use, or 100 people for this other credit, or everybody gets a personal exemption. Well, would we all like a personal exemption, or would we like a lower tax rate? It's a draw. And so the other thing I found is that everybody, when they use all these little deductions, the average net effective tax rate, if you call up the Oklahoma Tax Commission, is actually 3.1%. It's not 4.5%. So it's pretty simple to get that first chunk, which is somewhat similar to step 2 of getting rid of another chunk of exemptions to get us basically down to what I think can be 2.5%. Step 3 is a little more complicated. We have to go to the vote of the people and say, do we want to have an activity-based model like Tennessee, where people are, we all have sort of our own liberty and freedom and choices on how we spend our money, which economists tell us is the most efficient system? Or do we want to still have a system that taxes our 8, 10, 12 hours of work, which we believe is kind of immoral, and it's definitely an unproductive system. And here's kind of my best example. I'm a big basketball fan. I was quite disappointed when the Oklahoma City Thunder lost Game 7 to the Spurs. But next year, all the fans will be back.
Oh, yeah.
And when 18,000 plus fans buy their tickets to go to the Paycom Center, they don't pay a sales tax on the ticket. But if you go to a Memphis Grizzlies game, NBA game, or you go to a Tennessee Titan NFL football game, you pay a sales tax. Well, how many of those 18,000 plus fans do you think would go, oh, if there's a sales tax on these tickets, I'm not going to go to the NBA, Oklahoma City Thunder game? They're all going to go. Right. We love basketball, and they're going to choose to pay that tax because they're stark raving fans. That's an example of how we become eventually a no-income tax state.
Okay. And has there been much pushback from anybody in the legislation, or maybe your opponents or anything like that? What would their concerns be and things that they might attack that idea?
Well, one of my opponents, the Attorney General of Oklahoma, has basically said, oh, if someone's trying to tell you we can be a no-income tax state, they don't know what they're talking about. And my contention is, if you say something like that, you have no clue about how the state finances work, nor have you done your research on. There are 9 states that have a no-income tax model, and they have better roads, better education outcomes, better healthcare delivery, and better public safety statistics. So we can do this, and my sense from friends that I have in the Oklahoma House of Representatives and friends that I have in the Oklahoma State Senate, they want to get on the march of implementing this plan.
Yeah, okay. And this would not affect like consumer tax for anything, would it? Like, it wouldn't raise our consumption tax at all?
Well, step 3, remember, is an activity tax.
Just for activities, but for like daily, like this wouldn't raise like tax on groceries or spending.
We already don't pay a sales tax on groceries. Right. We will have to adopt paying an activity tax on some sales items and some service items that they do in Tennessee, that they do in South Dakota, that they do in, obviously, Texas.
Right, okay. And moving on to a point of, over the last few years, it's been a point of contention, but working with the tribes. What is your plan on working with the tribes, and how do you see that relationship with a Mazzei administration?
The 39 Native American tribes that are part of Oklahoma are the crown jewel of our state. There are endless cultural, historic, economic opportunities that we can chase together as good partners. So a major goal of a Mazzei administration is to repair, rebuild, and restore those relationships. Now, there are some complicated issues we have to figure out post the McGirt decision of the U.S. Supreme Court, criminal jurisprudence, taxes, regulations, hunting and fishing licenses. I have learned from business and public service, however, that it is far better to negotiate than it is to litigate. And it's never good when people in the process have this mentality of, I win, you lose, versus we have mutual interests. We all want better roads, better schools, better health care. So let's work out some negotiated agreements so we have a win-win for all of the people of Oklahoma.
Okay. And I had spoken a previous podcast with Representative Josh Burkeen about...
Love Josh Burkeen.
Oh, yeah.
We're so grateful that he endorsed our campaign for governor. And I served with Josh in the Oklahoma State Senate.
Great man. So,
True conservative.
Absolutely. We had talked extensively about the foreign ownership and impact that that had on our state. My question would be, how was that able to happen in Oklahoma, since it is against the law? And
what a train wreck.
What do you propose on doing with cleaning that up?
Well, when the people of Oklahoma voted for medical marijuana, the legislature just totally failed to put in, proper guardrails. So we became the wild, wild west of marijuana, and the industry kind of wrote the rules. And when you're the cheapest place in the globe to have a marijuana grow permit, and you can grow as much pot as you want on an unlimited amount of acres, what's going to happen? The Chinese communist money and the cartel money is going to pour in. And now what I've been told by law enforcement is these nefarious bad actors own land in all 77 counties, and it's created this public safety and national security crisis. Obviously, these marijuana grow farms are caught up in this evil nexus of drug trafficking and human trafficking. And on the national security side, we do have 5 major military installations, and the CCP could launch weapon strikes with drones against our facilities at the drop of a hat, just like we see happening over in the war in Ukraine all the time. And again, you've already done some of your research. The absurdity is the Oklahoma Constitution forbids the foreign ownership of land. Instead of tackling this problem head on to enforce the Constitution, the legislature passed a piece of legislation in 2023 called Senate Bill 212. Your listeners can look it up. And there was some fanfare of, look, we're dealing with the foreign ownership of land. Complete sham. The money interests got in there, and the legislation ended up creating this loophole that was literally drafted by the Attorney General's office. And I keep a copy of it everywhere we go. We can give you a copy and you can share it with your listeners. Everyone in the state of Oklahoma has to process an affidavit now when they buy land or a mineral ownership. And that affidavit has an item number 3 that has to be checkmarked. You get 2 boxes. You can either check the box that says, I'm a citizen of the United States, which is great. Check that box and buy whatever you want. but there's also the word or right next to it. And the next box is your other option. I'm not making it up. It literally says, I'm not a citizen, but an alien who is or shall become a bona fide resident of the state of Oklahoma. Check that box, you can buy whatever you want. On my first day in office, I will sign an executive order to abolish that unconstitutional loophole.
Okay, all right. And something that's kind of come up recently in the news, I think June 2nd, the Attorney General Drummond had come out and proposed to the smelter plant that's being put in Inola to get that shut down, saying that it was going to be a environmental hazard, public nuisance. What are your thoughts on that, and where do you stand in regards to that smelter plant in Inola?
You know, that was a done deal over a year ago, signed off by the governor and passed by the Oklahoma legislature. And what new information has developed all of a sudden that 2 weeks before the June 16 primary, all of a sudden the Attorney General is taking an interest in this issue. It reeks of a publicity stunt on something that's already going to happen. And it's obviously a priority of the Trump administration. There was an amazing article in April by the Wall Street Journal that talked about the thousands of jobs that are going to come to fruition. Some of them are even taking place now to supply all of what's going to happen at this aluminum plant. And that's started to alleviate some of my concerns about how the incentive package for the aluminum plant was put together. But then the war with Iran obviously changed everything. Our national security is dependent on producing aluminum. And the reason President Trump has made this a priority is we haven't had a new aluminum plant in America in 50 years. And we need aluminum for fighter jets and vehicles and all sorts of items that are important to our men and women in the military. I think I mentioned I'm a military brat. You know, my dad's a Vietnam veteran. My brother served in Bosnia. I literally have a nephew right now that's a Black Hawk helicopter pilot. We take national security in the Mazzei family extremely important. And the Trump administration was kind of gracious enough to give me some additional information about this national security priority. So it's kind of shocking that Mr. Drummond wants to go against President Trump on something that's a national security priority, but Governor Mazzei will stand with the Trump administration on this very critical issue.
Okay, there was a few points of concern as well that I believe 60% of it would be owned by a UAE company. Can you kind of walk us through that, what that means?
Well, the port of Inola, it's important to remember, is industrial space. So this combined UAE company called EGA, along with this this American company called American Aluminum, I think I just got that name wrong, but American Aluminum Company, have combined ownership on this company that's on Port of Inola land. So there's no foreign land ownership going on here, and it's a joint venture between two companies that, once again, the president has said is a national security priority, and it's very important to him, and we will stand with the president. Now, having said that, we're going to take very seriously, and we're already starting to work on how do we get the Department of Environmental Quality working in conjunction with the EPA to make sure we properly protect the local community.
Okay, and with the rising industrialization of AI, What and the different
How do
plants.
you do this without notes? You just seem to have remembered every question you want to ask.
No, I'm just, these are things that I'm super interested in. So
Okay. Maybe you should run for office. Be a state rep or be a state senator someday.
I don't know about that, but I do enjoy talking
Okay.
to people in my sphere and getting their input and what other people's concerns are, and I kind of look into them and come up with my own thought
Okay.
process. And
AI. I cut
AI.
you off. Sorry.
no worries. So with AI and the plants that they're wanting to build for the data centers, especially the one in Claremore, that's been a point of contention amongst a lot of the residents. What would you have to
Yes.
say to them, and what would you say about those plants being put in here in Oklahoma?
President Trump has said we must lead the world in artificial intelligence, which of course is going to require an enormous amount of processing power. Now, President Trump has also said there's a right way to handle data centers and there's a wrong way to handle data centers. And our view is that for data centers to be developed in Oklahoma, they should meet 4 conditions. The first condition is no taxpayer money. Again, I think I said this already, but I killed a $1.5 billion tax giveaway to the wind power company. We just can't afford to make mistakes like that. In the state of Virginia, they have 200 data centers that get $1 billion worth of tax breaks, but they only produce $100 million of tax receipts. That's just a huge money loser. We can't afford that. 2 is they have to produce their own electricity. They can't just connect to the grid, spike demand, and then electricity prices just skyrocket for all of us. The legislature wisely last year passed a bill that will allow them to have their own smaller natural gas powered turbines to generate their own electricity and use good old Oklahoma natural gas. Third, we believe they should only be developed on locally approved industrial space and not start carving up, Oklahoma farmland. And then fourth, we understand from some of our engineer friends that they should use advanced closed loop cooling systems, which I have read will constrain their daily water usage to the equivalent of 2 or 3, popular restaurants, each night. So we're properly protecting the water supply.
Okay. 2 more questions for you. With the education system and the reform that's been proposed, I think the number was at 1 in 5 students in high school are not reading at an 8th grade reading level. What are some steps you would take to reform that, fix that problem and situation, and turn Oklahoma from, I believe, the 47th into the 1st in literacy? So
the National Association of Educational Progress reports that only 20% of Oklahoma high school students can read at grade level. What that means is 500,000 of our 700,000 students in the system are not reading at grade level, which of course is a moral tragedy and a complete failure of state government. I've had a meeting, a one-on-one meeting, I should say, with the statewide literacy director of Mississippi. Her name is Amanda Malone. And I wanted to dive into the critical elements of their model because they went from 50th to 1st in the country in reading outcomes. So from what I learned there, I will hire a statewide literacy director in my very first week in office. And to replicate those 3 elements, we will first require all phonics-based reading curriculum in the State Department of Education for our 500-some school districts to choose from. Mississippi has 6 that the 140 school districts in Mississippi can choose from, and it's all phonics based. It's none of this, balanced literacy nonsense that's been just a national disaster. 2, we have to resource the right amount of funding for reading coaches, specialists, and regional coordinators. Mississippi puts $15 million a year into their system, which has 400,000 students, so I figure we've got to put about $25 million a year into our system, which has 700,000 students. And then we have to have a legitimate 3rd grade reading gate, which the legislature did work on this year, that they call the Strong Readers Act. So we have accountability in the system, so our kids are reading by 3rd grade, because after 3rd grade they need to read to learn.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And last question, what was it like for you getting the endorsement from Trump? Was that something that was expected, or was that something that came, maybe not as a shock, but just an absolutely new development for you, or was that something you were expecting?
Well, all the major candidates, a year ago, go through this process of presenting some information to the political office of the White House, and then we spent months, keeping the Trump administration and the political director updated on our progress. And as we made more and more progress, we felt like there was a reasonable opportunity for us to eventually get the president's endorsement. Now, the phone call from the White House and getting to personally talk to the president last Friday was, a special moment and a big honor. And I think what made a significant difference with the White House and the president is I'm the one candidate that's talked about a concrete plan with real solutions to tackle these challenges that totally align with the Trump agenda of lower taxes, less regulation, and better educational outcomes. So obviously super delighted, and we're gonna work our tails off into June 16th to let everyone know that there is a plan to usher in a golden age of growth and opportunity for the people of Oklahoma, just like President Trump is doing for America.
Okay, and with closing, can you tell us why a Mike Mazzei administration is best for Oklahoma?
Well, as I just kind of said, we have, I'm the only candidate that has a concrete plan with real solutions that has talked for months about specific action items to make Oklahoma a no-income tax state, abolish property taxes for seniors and veterans, launch a massive statewide literacy program where kids actually read or learn to read at grade level, and specific executive orders on day one so we can secure the land of Oklahoma for the people of Oklahoma. And when true reform-minded conservatives all kind of unite together by choosing faith and freedom and work on a solid plan, I'm very optimistic we can launch a wave of growth and prosperity for our kids and our grandkids.
Mike Mazzei, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you for your service.
Hey,
and
love doing it.
We appreciate the firefighters and all that they sacrifice for our communities.
Thank you for that. Hope you enjoy the coffee. If you want more, we'll always get you some more.
Red Iron Coffee!